think we will be I think we'll be live streaming now. Yes, we are. We're on. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I'm going to talk this morning about Russia will take Europe. The Europeans have already lost. It's not just me saying this now. There's other people saying this. Remember, I was the first, as always. I'm always the first to give you guys these wild things, right? And then as time progresses, let me put the chat on. And then as time progresses and more people jump on the bandwagon, it turns out it just becomes mainstream. So when I say something that's wild, it normally just becomes mainstream. So I've got a little post to show you guys. Who is it? Is it this one? No, that's the aliens one. Yeah, because aliens are coming, guys. Don't worry. Nothing to see here, just aliens. Is it this one? I don't know. It might be this one. I'm not on the back foot. I'm not late because I'm here at exactly the right time. Oh, that's a good one, actually. I've got quite a few videos to share with you guys. Right? Is it this one? I don't even know. Oh, here we are. Right. So David Betts yesterday. I'll share this post with you guys. So for those of you guys who've been watching me for a while, you know that I don't believe there's a way that. Do you know what? That's wrong. I don't believe that the Europeans will defeat the Russians. The Europeans can defeat the Russians if they want to, but the reality is I don't think that's going to happen. Okay. So for you guys who've been watching for a while, you guys know I've been saying that we're looking at this new world order, the Oceania and Eurasia. So let me just share this. This was a post that David Betts shared yesterday. So this is the map that David. Guys, look. I'm speechless right now. I am speechless right now. Honestly, guys, I'm absolutely speechless. So for those of you guys who are watching on YouTube, I'm sharing a map right now. This map is a map that was shared last night by David Betts. And he's saying this is how the new world order is going to pan out. So if you guys look there, that is pretty much exactly what I said. I would question whether South America and the mid to south part of Africa is as relevant, and I would say that potentially Taiwan and Taiwan. I would put Taiwan, Japan, and Israel in there. But that map is pretty much like I said it would happen, right? Where the Russians steamroll through Europe. There's no resistance, and then they just can't get over the channel. At that stage, the United States comes and takes control of the United Kingdom, and we literally have the new world order as it's set out in front of you guys on that map. So that's where I think things are going. And like so many things in life, when when I start talking about them, they do seem to happen a little bit afterwards. So this is what David Betts is saying now. Best I can figure is that the United States reckon this is the future and they might as well just act accordingly. Frankly, it's plausible. It's a coincidence that the world is disrupted. On top of Chagos has to be. Even Orwell wasn't that persistent. Still eerie. So he's talking there about the People's Federation, and that's how the new world order looks like it's gonna pan out. It is crazy, guys. It really is. It's crazy. It's Orwellian, but it's happening right in front of us. Right. Let me get some chat before I start talking. Michelle Marshall is saying weather's pants in northeast UK. Yeah, I mean, listen, it might be pants weather, but I spoke to my friend in Ukraine this morning and I said, what's the temperature outside? He says it's -14 outside. So however bad you think it is in the United Kingdom, it's not -14 outside yet, I guess. And listen, is anybody under any illusion that we're going to get this snow bomb? Because there's a snow bomb supposed to be heading towards the United Kingdom right now. And honestly, I'm just sick of all this hype about adverse weather in the United Kingdom. We never get harsh weather in the United Kingdom, but we always get harsh weather reports. And the last one, Storm, I don't know, Gertrude or whatever it was. When Storm Gertrude, I can't remember what I know. Goretti, was it Goretti? When Storm Goretti hit, It was an absolute, like, it was the biggest anticlimax I've ever seen. And I've just given up now. I literally, I've just given up. And then Michelle Marshall's is saying practically tropical then. Practically tropical. Isn't Starmer speaking today? Yeah, so Keir Starmer did a speech earlier. I missed it. Let's see if we can find it. Do you know what? Debbie? Let's see if we can try and find. Let's see if we can find this speech. Do you know what? It will be on X, won't it? I'm just trying to find Keir Starmer's speech. Is it that one? Starmer's speech. I can't find it. Is this it? Watch Starmer lectures. Right, I think this is it. Right. I'll share this with you guys. Listen, let me be clear. I don't know if this is the actual speech, but let's share this. I don't, like I said, I don't know if this is the actual speech.
Denmark is a close ally of the United Kingdom.
Look, this may be AI altered. I don't know. I don't know if this is AI altered. He may say something wild. Let's just see what happens.
Kingdom and of the United States, a proud NATO member that has stood shoulder to shoulder with us, including at real human cost in recent decades. Alliances endure because they're built on respect and partnership, not pressure. That is why I said the use...
I think he's wrong there. I think partnerships exist because they align with mutual support.
...of tariffs against allies is completely wrong. It is not the right way to resolve differences within an alliance. Nor is it helpful to frame efforts to strengthen Greenland's security as a justification for economic pressure. Such measures hurt British workers, British businesses, and the British economy. And that is why I've been so clear on this issue.
Okay, so let me give a little bit of context on this because, what's happening with Greenland is the reshaping right now of this of the New World Order. It's up, it really is the reshaping of the New World Order. There really is no denying it. And I spoke about this a little bit yesterday. And we are literally living through this in real time. And we're going to see this new world emerge, this new world with, with new alliances. And the thing about alliances is... Okay, let's just go wild, okay? What Keir Starmer's saying there about, we are, Denmark is allied to the United States and, they're the oldest alliances. What happens, right? Just totally hypothetically, right? Okay, if you, let's just say something totally wild, okay? Totally wild. This is absolutely never going to happen. And this is absolute conspiracy right now, ladies and gentlemen. And what I'm saying is not true. It's conspiracy and it's for entertainment purposes. So let's just pretend that something wild like the United Kingdom became the first Islamic Republic of Britain. Let's just say that happened, right? There was a vote for it. There was, and Britain is now the first Islamic Republic is the first Islamic Republic or whatever. Would it then be fair for the United States to still be allied with us? When we are perceivably an enemy. So alliances, there's no like alliances are only alliances while they're, while it's a working partnership. It's like an alliance is a working partnership. Well, both sides are getting something, they work. When one side just gives up, stops putting time, money, effort, resources, and just starts relying on the other person, it kind of becomes a drag. You know, like if you're in a business and your business partner is just doing absolutely nothing and you're pulling all the weight, it makes no sense for you to carry his weight anymore, does it? Right? You know, you want to cut that baggage. And that's the reality, and that's business. You know, and I do think Donald Trump is seeing the world. They're seeing the world like this now. Don't forget, you know, Trump's a businessman. So if he's in business and he's got let's just say, I mean, Trump does real estate, right? Or did real estate. So let's just say that he's got builders, right? He's got, he's got four building companies, right? Who work for him. One of those building companies is carrying the other three. What's he going to do? Is he going to keep all four building companies on, keep paying them, keep supporting them, keep subsidizing the three other building companies that are not doing anything? No, of course not. You would actually be a fool to do that. You would be a fool to do that, because that's coming off your bottom line. And Trump is seeing the people of the United States as his bottom line. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really don't, guys. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Right, listen, guys, we're going on a sidetrack. We're on a sidetrack. So I want to talk about this morning. I want to talk about how Russia will take Europe. I don't see any way out of this now. I've touched on it quite a few times, but I just thought I shared a map earlier. I'll share it again, actually. So this map here, where is it? Is it this one? So this map here, this is a map that David Betts shared. This is a map that David Betts shared, and he's talking about. I think this is from. I think this is the perceived map from George Orwell's 1984, and it doesn't look too far off what I said, right? So for those of you guys who've been following me for a while, I've been talking about this new world order whereby the United States takes Greenland, takes Canada, takes maybe some of those northern South American countries. You know, I mean, he's already taken Venezuela. All he needs to do now is take Colombia. All he needs to do now is take Colombia. I think Brazil, Argentina. I think they're too big. There's no real. I don't really see the utility there. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. How's Donald Trump going to take the United Kingdom? Well, if you guys look at that map there, the Eurasian nation. That sounds like a song. If you consider and believe, as I believe, that if the Russians manage to break out of Ukraine, it's over for the Europeans, and I really do think it is. And one of the things that people don't understand is, you know, I get a lot of this on the chat, people saying, "Oh, Sean, Russia is over. They don't have any tanks. They're sending African mercenaries." And I'm like, I don't think people understand warfare. I'll come on to that afterwards. But if you get to a scenario, and this is why I think it's going to get worse, if you get to a scenario where the Russians manage to break out of Ukraine, steamroll through Europe, because that will happen really quickly, steamroll through Europe, can you imagine the migration crisis that we're going to have on our shores? There's going to be every man and his dog trying to get over that channel. You know, we are going to have a humanitarian problem I mean, you think things are bad now. You can imagine how many people are going to try and flee Europe, right? And there is nowhere for them to go. If the Russians are taking Europe, there's going to be nowhere for them to go but over the channel to the United Kingdom. So I just thought I'd share that map. Right, I want to talk real quickly as well, and I want to address this because quite a few people in the chat have been saying, "Oh, Sean, the Russians are over. They've got no tanks. They've got no money. They've got no manpower." Well, what is so here's a little thought experiment for everyone, right? What is the purpose of the army? What's the purpose of the Navy? What's the purpose of the Air Force? Now, if you think that the purpose of the Air Force is to have the fastest, most technologically advanced aircraft, the most expensive helmets, and we all know there's a few helmets in the RAF, right? If you think that is the purpose of the Air Force, absolutely fine. What's the purpose of the Navy? Is the purpose of the Navy to have the most expensive ships, to have the most technologically advanced ships, to have the most ships? Is that is that the purpose of the Navy? And what's the purpose of the army? Is the purpose of the army to have the best night vision goggles, to have the best kit and equipment? Is the purpose of the army to have the best tanks, artillery, rifles? No, none of that is true. None of that's true. And if you think it is true, you're massively mistaken. The purpose of the Air Force is to protect the skies, right? And it's to support ground troops and impose casualties on your enemy, right? That would be the purpose of the Air Force. Okay, doesn't matter how you do it. Really doesn't. It doesn't matter how you do it. What's the purpose of the Navy? Protect your shores, and destroy your enemy's navy, right? That would be, and support ground offensives. That would be the purpose of the Navy. Doesn't matter how you do it, right? It doesn't. It does not matter how you do it. Yes, of course, having the best planes, you know, you would think that goes hand in hand if you're fighting fair. So what's the purpose of the army? What's the purpose of the army? There's one purpose in the army, and I can't say it while I'm on TikTok because I'll get banned. But there's one purpose of the army, and while I'm streaming on TikTok as well, I'm going to leave it here, okay? I'm going to say the purpose of the army is to take and hold ground. That's the reality. So does it really matter if you have the best tanks? Does it really matter if you have all the best trained soldiers, if you're achieving your goals and objectives efficiently? Now, this is one of the things that people don't understand. So when you see these, when you see these images of and these videos of Russians using African mercenaries, it's like, oh, the Russians are running out of men. No, they're not running out of men. That's how they do war. They're using these people as conscripts and they're pushing them forwards. When you see the Russians, in stolen motorbikes, stolen cars. Well, I'm going to presume they're stolen. Land Rovers with the roofs cut off. That sort of stuff that's how I used to roll in Afghanistan. That stuff is actually better because you don't need that supply chain. You don't, like, when you've got a tank if you've got a tank in Modern Warfare, right? You, I don't know, probably a tank. Land Rover is a better example. Well, everybody knows Land Rover, right? We all know Land Rover. So the British military are contracted, Land Rover are contracted by the British military to supply them with vehicles, right? With Land Rovers, 110s and 90s. Land Rover Defenders. Now, because of that contract, they have a spare parts deal. So if a vehicle breaks down, you have to get spare parts from Land Rover. Now, at scale, this is going to be very difficult because you're going to be then pushing forwards, and you're going to have, and I've seen this on the ground, certainly in Afghanistan, where you have a vehicle that's broken down. You could go to any garage and fix it. You could go to any garage and fix it, but you're not allowed because you have to have the genuine manufacturer's parts, and you have to have the service. So you have to blow the vehicle up. So now who's the real joke on? And honestly, when you see, and we will see this, guys, we will see this at some point, when we start to see land pirates emerge through potentially Poland, potentially Finland, countries that border Russia, and nobody can do anything about it. All those people who are saying, oh, Russia's got no tanks left, they're going to be running for that, they're going to be running, and the Russians are going to be chasing them, and it's not going to matter whether they're using tanks or not. Right, let me jump on some chat, ladies and gentlemen. The Watchman is saying our army is like the size of the Scouts. It's ridiculous. The size of the British army is ridiculous. Dirty Water is saying the cost of digging out those resources is why they're still in the ground. It's cost prohibitive. Okay. Oh, Dirt and Water. Sorry, Dirt and Water. Not Dirty Water. Sorry, I do apologize. Dirt and Water on YouTube is saying, with a fantastic thumbnail. That's a fantastic thumbnail. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So one of the reasons why I think Trump wants, I think you're talking about Greenland here. I think he's talking about Greenland. One of the reasons why Trump is wanting to take Greenland now is because of global warming. The weather is getting warmer, and as the weather's getting warmer, those resources become more accessible, and that's the reality. So maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they were absolutely prohibitive. Now, with the temperature rising, and a lot of the ice melting, those resources are more easily accessible. Martin Quinn is saying, better off with a Toyota. At least you know when you go on tour, you can come back. Not like the Land Rover always breaks down. Yeah, a lot of the bad guy nations, they all use Toyotas. And when I used to work in the Middle East, everybody just drives Toyotas. Literally, everybody drives Toyota Land Cruisers. That is it's just the go-to. Nobody drives anything else, or if they do, it's just going to break down. We had this Nissan Armada. Is that a truck? Nissan Armada? It might not be. It might be something else. But honestly, that thing was just horrific. But yeah, I would always go with Toyotas. Did you know that the Toyota VVTi engine, the variable valve timing intelligence engine, has had zero breakdowns, zero reported failures? I don't know. I'm not paid by Toyota, guys. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Right. How many Russians have? Destiny Workman is saying, how many years have Russia been in Ukraine? Some people would say 12, 13 years. So how long do you think it would take them to take Europe? Okay. So the difference here is it's a cultural thing, right? So and I would say the first Russian boots on the ground in Ukraine was 2014. So 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. Now, that 2014 invasion, the annexation, was a special military operation. They went into Crimea. Look how quickly they annexed Crimea. Look how big Crimea is. And they annexed that within a couple of days. They annexed huge parts of Donbass. And they've been moving forwards ever since. Hang on. Have I got the map up? Give me a second. I'll get the map up. I'll talk about this after. So if you change the dynamics of this, if you change the dynamics and you say, right, okay, this is now going to be a full-scale land grab, and you say to every Russian, every Gopnik, you say, right, guys, listen, you guys can storm through Europe. You can, whatever you take, that's yours. So buildings, houses, factories, infrastructure, that becomes yours, all right? But the land belongs to Russia. Think how quickly they would rush through. Rush through Europe. The Europeans are not ready. The Europeans are really not ready. The Ukrainians were hardened by the time that the full-scale 2022 invasion came. The Ukrainians were hardened. They had a lot of hardware, and they had a lot of support. So I would say it would take a lot less to push through Europe because the Europeans are just not ready. And if you think about the use of land pirates, I don't want to go over things I've already said, but if you think about the use of land pirates, right, and the way that okay, so what I mean by land pirate, I mean a small group of men armed with rifles, okay, marauding their way through Europe. If you consider that 100 men moving into a town or a city or a village or a settlement and taking whatever they want, how do you get them out? Literally, the numbers that you need to get those people out are phenomenal. Because if you're working on a standard military playbook where you are looking at one defender for 3 attackers, that means you have to have 300 attackers, right? So that means straight away the Russians have more manpower because they've mobilized everyone. And you are now having to fight them 3 to 1. So the numbers don't even add up. And that's just 3-to-1 infantry. Then you're looking at, the support staff for each infantier. We don't have the manpower. We really don't have the manpower. Sophia is saying all the ISIS convicts have been let out of prison. They will be making their way here soon. Really? I didn't realize that. I guess you're talking about, are you talking about Syria? Are you talking about the Syrian ISIS? Yeah. Look, I've said this so many times, right? Gotta be very careful what I say while I'm on TikTok. In fact, you guys on TikTok, I am going to be closing you guys down pretty soon. I'm going to close you guys down in like 4.5 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to close you guys. I'll close you guys down at past, okay? I'll continue the live stream on YouTube. The reason I close you guys down early is because I'll just get banned. I'll get restricted. And then when I get banned on TikTok, when I get banned on YouTube, I won't be able to tell you guys where I'm streaming. So doesn't really, it's going to be counterproductive. So you guys on TikTok, I am going to close you guys down at past. So Severe Stark is saying all the ISIS convicts have been let out of prison. I'm assuming she's talking about Syria. One of the things I identified a long time ago is like, will these people have a criminal record? Like total hypothetical now, totally for entertainment purposes, right? Let's just say ISIS member X, all right? He's done some real bad things. Let's just leave it there, right? He's done some real bad things. He was put in prison in Syria, right? He's done some real bad things. He's let out of prison now, right? He's let out of prison. So he then makes his way through Europe, through Calais, over the boats, and he's now in the United Kingdom. He's claiming asylum because, he's fleeing a war. And he gets given asylum. And then you know what? He thinks, you know what? I feel I could have a job as a member of a security guard or a member of a security company. Now, he can apply for, and remember, this is an ISIS guy, and he's potentially done a lot of bad things. This is hypothetical. And he's done a lot of bad things. But he's got no criminal record. He got zero criminal record. But Dave, who was doing 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, he's got a criminal record now because he's been done for, or whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? So now you've got a situation where people who are potentially, ex-ISIS are working in the security industry in the United Kingdom. Now, I don't think that's far-fetched. I really don't. I don't think that's far-fetched. And one of the things that I think I should do a live stream on, I think somebody put it in the chat last night before I left off. This happened to my mum, actually. And my mum was terrified. So my mum ordered a Chinese meal, a succulent Chinese meal. So my mum ordered a succulent Chinese meal the other day. She ordered it off one of these apps or whatever. And when the guy came, he was speaking broken English. But when the guy came, he asked my mum for a tip. Hang on. I just did a massive bang. Oh, we're not getting attacked. That was weird. Anyway, so my mum ordered a Chinese meal, and when he came, this guy, he didn't speak English. He spoke broken English, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But he was asking for a tip, and my mum said, no, I've already paid. I've paid on the app. And the guy, he was very forceful, and he was saying, no, you need to give me a tip as well, because that's for like, I don't know, Just Eats or whatever it is. I don't know which one she used. And my mum was like, no, I'm not giving you a tip. I've paid. I've literally paid. She said, I don't want it then. I want a refund. Anyway. She said he went, but then she was looking out the window and he took a picture of her house. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing illegal. But my mum was terrified. And I mean, obviously, there may be an innocent explanation to why he was taking a picture of her house. He may just have taken a picture of her house because it was like, oh, right, okay, well, if I need to deliver here again, I want to take a picture of the house so I know I don't miss it. Or you could be saying, right? Or you could say, some conspiracy theorists could say that they're conducting reconnaissance on houses and vulnerable women. I don't know. But let me ask you this, guys, okay? Young women who are all at home with their kids, they order guys, you guys know where I'm going, right? I've got 2 minutes to turn you guys off on TikTok because I don't want to say things that are going to get me banned on TikTok. Right. I'm going to try and talk between the lines here, right? Young women ordering food online, it turns up. How do you know who's delivering and how do you know what other information they're gathering? Honestly, like we're relatively lucky or unlucky because we can't get stuff delivered here. It's just it's like a non-starter. If we want a takeaway, we literally have to go and like drive to pick it up. Maybe like once a blue moon. In fact, I think it is a new moon tonight. I think it's a new moon tonight. So the question is, who are these people that are coming to our houses and asking for tips? And it's just, I personally think there's more to this. I really do. Right, let me jump down and get some of the comments, and I'll be turning you guys off on TikTok. So Yatagarasu is saying, when we got the recipe, why do we need several million to cook it? I think that's a nod to a comedy sketch that, who was it? Mr. Bean, what's his name? Rowan Atkinson. I think he was doing a comedy sketch and he said that. Just admit it, you're a flat earther. No, I'm not a flat earther, not at all. Deliveroo Gribe Band again is saying Deliveroo migrants demanding tips. Stop using the delivery service. Well, I don't use the delivery service. I agree. And I don't, look, guys, let me be quite clear. I don't know what delivery service it was. My mum didn't say. But you can imagine now, can't you? You can imagine now, like, I don't know. I just wouldn't. It's just not for me, guys. I see dramas that could be happening. Absolute dramas that could be happening. AJ Aesthetics is saying Russia have just been flattening the towns in Ukraine before moving to take the positions. Would they deploy the same tactic through Europe? No, they wouldn't. If they continued, no. So the Russians have been absolutely going scorched. Right, you guys on TikTok, actually, I'm going to close you guys down now. We've got Susan Sky, we've got Mark, we've got Miller, we've got Delilah the Sea Witch who shared the live. Thank you for that. We've got Louise Webb, Mary, Martin Quinn. We've got Dave, Jenny Redditch. And Martin Quinn is saying, does not say anything that really means anything, just tiptoeing around and agrees. Yeah, I think he's talking about Keir Starmer there. Right. Listen, you guys on TikTok, I'm going to close you guys down now. You've been fantastic. You've been amazing. You've sent me lots of little hearts and stuff, and I appreciate each and every one of them. But I'm going to close you guys down now, and I will just be streaming on YouTube. And thank you, Shroomy. Shroomy sent me a little heart thing, so thank you, Shroomy. And I hope Shroomy is going to jump over to YouTube because I'm a real Raven one on YouTube, and all my handles are down there. So I hope to see you over there. Right, let me turn this off. And let me see if I can take my phone down without whacking my finger. Or dropping my phone. I always whack my finger or drop my phone. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, I did it. Yeah. So AJ Aesthetics is saying Russia have been using flattening the towns and moving in. And I that's been happening on both sides. That's because they don't have the capacity to use... you see, when people try and do this like comparison between conscripts and trained infantry, there is no comparison, really. Your trained infantry is going to win every time, right? That's the reality. But what is the purpose of your military? Is it to take ground, Right, okay, then what tactics are you using? Okay, so in this context, the Russians understand that their military does not have the capacity to go door-to-door room clearing and, you know, and clear out these, you know, clear out these houses like you guys have seen on Call of Duty or whatever. The Russian conscripts don't have that capacity. So what they do is they just bombard and bomb the shit out of everything with artillery, drones, you know, all the rest of it. And then they move the conscripts in. And that's the way they're moved. That's the way they're operating now. They are being successful. And it's not better. It's not worse. It's just different. Okay. And that's what people don't understand. Now, moving through Europe, let me get the map up. Let me get this map up. In fact, I'm talking about the map and it's not right. Let me get this map up quickly. So if we talk about the Russians moving through, I'll show you how quickly this will go. So let me zoom out. Okay. Right. So, for example, let's just say that the Russians, move into Poland through this town here of Brest. Now, Brest, that's how you pronounce it, guys, Brest. Brest is a huge rail network. There's a lot of rail networks that preside in Brest, and if there's going to be a lot of most Russian logistics actually get moved by rail. So if it's going to come anywhere, it would probably, in my opinion, it would probably come around here because logistically you can get a lot of that stuff into Brest. Now I'm talking totally hypothetical here. So if look at all these little towns, for example. So if you said now to the Russian population, right, we're going in, we're going to support you with artillery. I want you Gopniks to get rifles, get whatever you can take and steal, and go into Tiraspol, or whatever that town is there. Now you have 100 people, 100 people going into this town, just looting, stealing, taking whatever they can. That happens really quickly. Why? Because if you're doing something for yourself, you will take those risks. If there's a race to get a brand new Mercedes, they're going to take it. If there's a race to take a factory, to take a supermarket and all the loot in a supermarket and all the money, they're going to take it. And that's what I think we're going to see, land pirates. So in that context, people will be rushing forwards and they will be surging forwards to take these towns, villages and settlements. And it's going to happen so fast. It will happen really fast, guys. And there's hardly any way to stop. Oh, hang on. Oh, right. Let me go back onto this map. I didn't realize that the Russians have already moved special forces there. So the Russians, I don't know if you guys can see that. The Russians have moved the 5th separate special forces brigade to Brest. So this town of Brest in Belarus, it's a huge rail hub. I think this was going to be one of the connecting hubs going into Europe because the Russians had a proposed rail line, and I think it was all the way from China through Europe. But anyway, yeah. In answer to your question, no, I don't think they're going to use the same tactics. James is saying, when you work for Uber or food apps, you do have to take a picture and upload it to the app. Order. Okay, right. Listen, guys. I was quite clear. I didn't know that. So James is saying, when you work for Uber or food apps, you do have to take a picture and upload it to the app to say the order's been delivered. Right? Okay, fair enough. Look, guys, I don't know this. It just scared my mum. Right? It just scared my mum. And she saw somebody coming out, and I don't know if that, I mean, yeah, it makes sense, right? And she came, the guy came out basically after asking her for a tip. My mother didn't give her a tip. She saw him at the end of the drive taking a picture. So, it was a bit scary for my mum. Debbie Doobs is saying we need to down tools, no working, no shopping, no schooling. It's not going to happen. People are, people are greedy. People are real greedy. People want their jobs. People want to keep their way of life. And this is the problem that we are in the West. This is why I don't believe that the Europeans can beat the Russians. And it's going to be a slog. It will be a battle, guys. It's going to be a huge battle. Listen, there's a lot of people who don't speak English as their first language working as security. Now, look, let me be quite clear about this. I think it's ridiculous when, I saw some girls once making fun out of a guy because he was speaking broken English. And I thought those girls were absolute dicks. When you speak broken, when you're speaking in another language, it's clearly not your first language, right? So you know another language and you know enough of the native language, I guess, and you're trying to talk and communicate in that language. So anybody that makes fun out of anyone for speaking a language, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. My Russian and my Ukrainian and my Arabic is probably, I've no doubt it probably is broken Arabic and broken Russian and broken Ukrainian, that you try and get through as best you can. Destiny's Workman says, if you have got serious conviction, you can still get an SIA license. It depends how long ago it was. Some convictions, you will never get one because they check them. They are not the best. Right, let me jump down, guys, because there's quite a lot of comments, and I'm just conscious I'm miles behind on the comments. Woody is saying, I thought the country goes on lockdown next month anyway. Does it? I don't know. When did we say that? I remember saying, can you guys remember when we said February, the government would announce their what's the word I'm looking for? Remember when we said February was going to be the month that the government would announce their military bolstering plan, right? It's never going to be cold conscription. That word is never going to get used, but they're going to need to bolster the military. It actually turned out that happened half a month at least early, because the government now said that they are going to raise the age at which you can be called back as a strategic reserve from 55 to 65, which I do think is a good idea, to be honest. And Debbie Doobs is saying, too many I'm all right jacks. Exactly, Debbie Doobs. That is exactly the problem we're in the United Kingdom and in the West. Too many people, there's literally too many, first of all, right, the amount of people who would call you a conspiracy theorist 12 months ago, the amount of people who would call you a far-right hooligan 5 years ago, the amount of people that have now gone 180 on that, but the problem still remains. All right, I've got a friend, and he says, he says he wants to, but I've got a friend. He works a 9 till 5. He's not going to risk his job. He's not going to risk his job security. He's not going to risk not paying his mortgage, not paying his car repayments, not being able to go out at the weekend and, do whatever he wants to do. He's not going to risk that. But what will happen is slowly, that will get taken away anyway. And people don't accept the reality. And, I know I've said this quite a lot. One of the reasons I feel I've done well in my career is because I've seen what's coming, I've accepted the reality, and I've dealt with it before it gets to me. A good way to explain this is when I'm playing poker, and I'm not condoning gambling, guys. I'm not condoning gambling. Stop when it's not fun. When I worked in Baghdad, we played a lot of poker. We used to go around. So I'd like a little circuit going to each embassy. Like on a Friday night, we would go to like different embassies and a different night. We'll play. We'd all have like a poker game. And one of the things I stuck by is, and I use this as a life philosophy. I have like an all-in pot. So if you're playing Texas Hold'em, right, and you've got, I don't know, say you've got, I don't know, $500 worth of chips or whatever, $100, whatever, it doesn't matter. I will have half of them as my all-in pot, all right? Because if my chips are getting chipped away, they're getting chipped away and I'm losing, I'm going to lose, right? And then when I do say all in, I've got nothing to, I haven't got any weight to go all in with. So what I would do is I would say, right, I only play with half of my chips and my other half are my reserve. And if that reserve gets low, I will just push it all in. I'll say, right, we're going to rock this now. We're going to go big time. We're going to go big time, Billy. But too many people let the chips get chipped away, if that makes sense. You know, again, a couple of years ago, I was in the gym and I was listening to somebody talking and he was saying, I can't remember what exactly, but he was saying like, yeah, me and my girlfriend, we're not moving into the new apartment. I'm going to sell my car because I think one of them had been sacked. We're not going to move into the new apartment. I'm going to sell my car, get a bike and ride to work. And he was telling his friend that actually they're going to be better off. I was like, no, mate, you're just downgrading your life and pretending you're better off. And people are putting themselves in false economies. Like, you know, this happens. This is literally happening like everywhere, right? You get people who shop at Waitrose, right? Those people who shop at Waitrose, they get less money. They decide the cost of living is hitting them. So then they shop at, I don't know, Tesco's or Morrison's or somewhere. And then they're like, all right, we're okay. We're managing now. We're managing again. Then they get hit with another pay cut or tax rises or whatever. So now they're shopping at like, I don't know, Aldi or Lidl. And they're, oh God, right, okay, we're struggling. And then they get hit by another. Then they get hit by another thing. And they're right, okay, let's go to the discount. You see where I'm going here, you know. It's these small incremental steps that are destroying people. And like Debbie Doobs is saying, too many people don't understand what's coming. Sean, take a look at Ahmani in crew. Right. I don't know what this means. Ahmani in crew. I don't know what this means. I'm just going to Google it. I have no idea what that means. I've just Googled it and there's absolutely nothing. I don't know what that means. I literally just Googled. I've literally just Googled that for pause. I don't know what that means. If you can give me more context. The Bond project is saying USA is following the same steps the Spanish Empire did before it collapsed. The British Empire went through the same stages before it collapsed. Reckon we're seeing the fall of America? No, I don't. I don't think we're seeing the fall of America anytime soon. The geography of America is too powerful. You know, it really is. The geography. Let's get America up. So if you look at America there, you know, and this is how I think. In fact, let me take that down. And this is how I think the new. This is obviously from. So this is a map that was shared by David Betts, and he's saying, David Betts is saying basically, they're on the side, he's saying, best I can figure is that the USA reckons this is the future and they might as well just act accordingly. Frankly, it's plausible. It is plausible. But if you guys look at America, the blue on the left, North America, like, they have all the resources, they have all the farmland, they have all the minerals, and nobody can attack them. So I don't think that's the case, really. If you look at Britain, you know, Britain is relatively small. We don't have the landmass that America has. You know, and when you stop, one thing I will say is when you stop expanding, that's when you start contracting. As an empire, if you're expanding all the time, you're taking new ground, you're taking new resources, you're bringing new people in, you've got that energy moving, you've got that cash flow, I guess. When you stop expanding, that's when you start going. That's when you start going south. But no, I don't think we're seeing the end to America anytime soon. Not for at least 100 years. Really, not at least not for 100 years. Yatagarsu, I think I'm pronouncing that right, is saying, during lockdown, I renovated my mother's home, saw her loads, used the you can work during lockdown loophole. Okay. I built this extension during lockdown. It was crazy. It was crazy. Where I live, there's like, I don't have any neighbors, but there's like a row of allotments. Like at the bottom of, like we've got like at the bottom, got like a garden and then a field and then a woods. And then at the bottom, at the other side of the woods, there's like an allotment patch. And during lockdown, like you could hear, and like there was loads of people down there building little sheds and stuff. And one night I was laid in bed and I heard boom, 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 boom. I looked out the window. I was like, what's going on out there? I opened the curtains and I looked down, and the allotments, they just built bars. People had built bars. And it was like, there was maybe like, I don't know, I'd say like no more than 5 like sheds that had been converted into bars, and they had music and they had lights. And like the people in the allotments had just made their own little like drinking strip. It was quite innovation. Fiona Flynn is saying in 3 years, Donald Trump will be gone. Will Greenland be handed back and all the crazy cap stopped? No, I don't think so. I think you're looking at the New American Century here. There was something called the Project for the New American Century. Let's not think that DJT will be gone. There are plenty of loopholes to keep DJT in that role as president of the United States. One of those methods could be, for example, there's nothing in the Constitution to stop him running as a deputy president. What is it? Not deputy president, second in command or whatever. What is it called in America? Is it deputy? It's not deputy president, whatever it is. But there's nothing in the US Constitution that would stop Donald Trump from running as a deputy president, like basically vice president. Thank you, vice president. Thank you, guys. There's nothing to stop Donald Trump from running as vice president and DJ Vance running as president. And then as soon as he gets in, as soon as DJ Vance gets elected, DJ Vance says, listen, thank you very much, but for personal reasons, I'm going to resign. I don't want to be president anymore. Vice president steps up and then employs DJ Vance as vice president. So there's nothing to stop there. There is a little loophole to keep Donald Trump in charge. But look, in 3 years, the world is going to be absolutely wild. It is. The world's going to be absolutely wild. Debbie Doobs just keep telling me I should have it because I'm immunocompromised. I don't know what that means. You're going to have to give me context. Woody is saying people need to understand that is a weapon activated by... I don't know where I go with this, guys. I really don't know where I go with this. What I will say is when the in the crazy time of 2019, 2020, the amount of 5G towers that were just sprouted up from nowhere is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal, the amount of 5G towers that were that sprouted up. Right, listen, guys, we're going on a side quest. Let me get back. I don't even think I've covered this enough. So the crux of this live stream has been that things are going to get a lot worse. Russia will take Europe. There's no stopping it now. Doesn't have to be that way, but it will be that way. So when people come on here and they say, oh, Sean, but yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I totally get there are more people in Europe. Europe has a bigger GDP. Europe has a larger standing army. I totally get that. But what people don't understand is the asymmetry of warfare. Because here in the West, and I can't help them. I really can't help them anymore. I can't help people in the West anymore. I can remember in 2000 and I can't remember, I think it was like 17 or 18. I wrote a proposal to the MOD. So I proposed to the MOD that and I asked the MOD for some money. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to buy an old cargo ship. I wanted to buy an old cargo ship, renovate it into a drone aircraft carrier. And rather than have these expensive F-35s and, all the rest of the aircraft, I was literally going to turn a piece of scrap metal into a drone aircraft carrier. And inside that, rather than having aircraft and stuff, we would literally just have engineers building drones for purpose. It would be like a floating workshop. I got some feedback. They said it wasn't feasible. And then we see China literally, and I didn't know this was happening in China. And then we literally see China releasing the same thing. And now we have 2 aircraft carriers that cost billions that are absolutely useless. So it really is crazy how and then I see the government spending 5.5 billion on this Ajax project. That's more than likely going to get scrapped. So I really can't help these people anymore. I can't. I can tell them what's coming. I can tell you guys what's coming, and we can watch that unfold in real time. Unfortunately, the government don't listen, and the reason they don't listen is because they're not smart enough to understand, think objectively. What happens is if for example, Keir Starmer, right? This is how it works, right? If Keir Starmer wants to know what's happening in the military, and this is why it's flawed, right? If Keir Starmer, for example, says, right, I need somebody to tell me what's happening in Pokrovs right now. I need not Pokrovs, Kharkiv. It doesn't really matter. In Ukraine. Okay, right. Yep, got it, Keir. What will happen is he will then speak to his military attaché. He will then speak to the opposite military attaché in in Kiev or wherever, probably in Kiev. That guy will then speak to the Ukrainian military guy on the other side. He will write a report that will get sent back to the other guy. And by the time this has gone through all these people, and these documents get sent in open word, right? So your first initial response from on the ground, right? You have an element of truth. And then that gets sent back to the next person. And he says, oh, we can't say that. We need to say this. Oh, we can't say that. We need to say this. And then that goes to someone else. And then he's like, oh, no, we can't say that. So by the time that gets back to Keir Starmer, it's a fabrication. It's literally a fabrication. It's not the ground truth. And as well, when British military are doing analysis, who's Keir Starmer going to ask? He's going to ask his highest ranking general, right, or whatever. Now, the problem with that is if you're asking a brigadier, a field marshal, or whatever, a question because you think he's the most knowledgeable guy, and as far as green military and British military, he would be, or Western military, he would be. He's looking at all these problems and he's looking at all these different intricacies with Western military eyes. And the problem is we have conscripts, we have asymmetric warfare, and it's just, they're not getting a real ground truth. Jeremiah, Jeremiah is saying Russia took Europe in World War II and gave it all back. USA and Canada and England never won World War II. Russia won. They gave everything back, allowed all those countries of old USSR to become their own. So why? I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. But the Russians did take a huge toll in World War II. Also, the Russians were a lot. Okay, so I don't believe that the Russians were actually the good guys in World War II. If you look at the reports of some of the things that happened and were just by the Russians, and it was just turned a blind eye to, it is quite eye-watering. Right, listen, guys, I'm going to start to turn this down. I'm going to start to turn this down. I'm going to start to turn this off. Right. Facts. They were very bad. Right. I'm going to leave this as my last comment, guys. I'm going to leave this as my last comment. I might be jumping back on. Later on this afternoon, but I've totally not covered what I meant to cover today. So I might jump back on and talk about this again because we went totally on a side quest. But what I tried to talk about today is how I don't feel Europe can. I don't feel. In fact, I'm not even feeling it, right? Europe won't win against Russia. They won't win against Russia. They can if they make hard decisions now, but they're not going to. Why? Because they're tippy-toeing and not understanding the depths of this problem. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. I think I'll be back on this afternoon, 12 or between 12, I don't know. But I am going to close this down now. You guys have been fantastic. If you've not done so, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, because I really do appreciate when you guys do that. So I will close this down now, guys, and hopefully I'll be back on later. And if not, I will be back on tonight at 8. Oh, hang on. Where did that comment go? I don't know. I'm going to turn it off now.